the scriptures say, yeah, it's in Acts 17. The scriptures say that Paul was preaching. Anybody know? Any guesses? What was Paul preaching? Jesus. The scriptures say Paul was preaching Jesus, and they searched the scriptures in Acts 17 daily. Was it because I just want to read the scriptures? They searched the scriptures daily. Daily, the Bereans in Acts 17 searched the scriptures daily to see whether what Paul said were true. They said, well, we want to see, is this right? So apparently they were unfamiliar with the scriptures. Well, if they had the scriptures, what do they need Paul for? Because Paul was preaching Jesus. He was preaching Jesus and the resurrection. I imagine it's the resurrection of everybody. It's coming up, or that will come up. He was preaching Jesus. He wasn't preaching Moses. He wasn't preaching David. He didn't say, well, let's read about David. Let's read about, as Jesus said, let's read about Moses. He wasn't saying, let's read about, as Jesus said, Moses in the bush. Because Jesus said, well, Moses in the bush and all this stuff. If there were synagogues and they had the scriptures, why did they need Paul? If Paul were preaching the scriptures, why did they need Paul? See, well, the New Testament wasn't written yet. Paul said, I want to see you face to face in his writings. He said, I want people to see my face. He didn't say, well, it'd be nice to stop by. I'll stop by if I can, but thank God you have my writings. He didn't say that. He didn't say, well, I'll just write my sermons to you, and then you could get up and preach them. Just read them and go tangential off of them. And it's the same thing with what John said in two of his letters, in 1 John and 2 John. He said, I have more to write to you, but something like, I do not want to use paper and ink. I do not want to use pen and ink. John said, I want to see you, because the gospel is spoken, and it's through the love we share with hugging.